In this session, we want to take a look at solving equations by factoring. In particular, we'll look at quadratic equations. We know how to solve linear equations like 5 plus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 4 times 2x minus 3. The goal would be to isolate the variable. And we use distribution property, we collect like terms, we isolate the variable by using the additive property and multiplicative property of equality. Any type of linear equation can be solved by using those steps. And here we would have 5 plus 3x minus 9 after we use the distribution property. And on the right hand side, applying distribution property as well, we get 4 times 2x is 8x, and 4 times 3 would be 12. And now collecting like terms would be the next step. So the first step, distribution, and then collecting like terms. We end up with, on the left hand side, 3x minus 4, and on the right hand side, 8x minus 12. And now applying the additive property and moving the x's to the right hand side, say. So we want to subtract 3x from both sides, and moving the 12 to the left hand side, we would add 12 to both sides, and we end up with, on the left hand side, 8, on the right hand side, 5x. And now applying the multiplicative property, and we divide both sides by 5, and we end up with x is 8 over 5 as the solution. We know how to solve any linear equation. Those would be the steps. But how do you solve something like this? X squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. We cannot use the same technique. I mean, we won't be able to just isolate x. Although it is true, x is equal to x squared minus 6. This is not solved. We still have x's on both sides. One method for solving such equations like this hinges on the idea of factoring. If we think about real numbers, what must be true if two numbers multiply together to give you 0? Well, one of the numbers, or both of them, must have been 0 to begin with. In other words, the real numbers have no 0 divisors. That is saying, if a times b is equal to 0, then a must be 0, or b must be 0, or both. We can call this the zero factor theorem or zero product rule, but essentially it's saying the same thing we said earlier, that real numbers have no 0 divisors. That's why when you ask a question like this, what is 5 divided by 0? The answer is undefined, because there's no such number that works. This property provides us a method for solving the equation we had started. X squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. The key concept is to factor. How do we go about factoring x squared minus x minus 6? Well, we have a quadratic trinomial. We had a method for solving that. We ask ourselves the following question. What are the factors of negative 6 that add together to give negative 1? And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. At the same time, negative 3 plus 2 makes negative 1. So we found that pair of numbers that we needed. And we have our factoring, x minus 3 times x plus 2. And now we have something factored, and it's equal to 0. Then we can apply that 0 product rule. At this stage, this must be factored and equal to 0. If both of those statements are true, then we can apply our property above, and we would end up with x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. And now solving each of those, we end up with x is equal to 3, or x is equal to negative 2, as the two solutions to the quadratic equation. And if you want, we can check it. Checking 3 squared is 9, and then 9 minus 3 minus 6, indeed we get 0. And checking the negative 2 would work as well.